All right, so I think most people know me. I am Brooke Lively, founder and president of Cathedral Capital, but I am so excited today that we have Ken Hardison with us. I want to tell you a little bit about him. Ken has fought for people's rights as a trusted personal injury attorney for more than 35 years. His ethics, integrity, and passion for his clients helped to build one of North Carolina's most successful firms, Hardison and Cochran, and a successful Social Security disability firm, Carolina Disability Lawyers in Myrtle Beach. Okay, by the way, if you don't know, it is hard to start an SSDI firm because it's a long tail until you start to get paid. So this is a smart guy here. Now, as owner and publisher of the law firm management website, Law Practice Advisor, and founder and president of PILMMA, the powerful, innovative legal marketing and management association, Ken devotes his time to helping attorneys build their own preeminent law practices with proven marketing strategies and management resources. Ken has been recognized as one of the top 100 trial lawyers in North Carolina. He is a member of the $1 Million Advocates Forum. He has written, get this, 10 books. His 10th one is called Systematic Marketing. And so 5 of his books have been on marketing and managing law firms. He's a sought after speaker throughout the country, and he is known as the Millionaire Maker due to his coaching clients doubling and quadrupling their law practices and income following Ken's practice growing advice and insights. So Ken, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
That's a pretty stinking impressive resume, by the way.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's took a lot of hard work.
Are you still practicing law?
No, I sold my last firm in 2015, just strictly working with PILMMA, and launched a new program last month called Strategic Attorney Coach. So I'm doing some group coaching. I used to go to law firms, but I don't do that anymore. I'm tired. I decided to quit traveling before COVID got here. So.
Yeah, see, I think we're in different parts of our careers. Like, give me an airplane. I want a hotel room.
Yeah. And I was doing it like, I was going like half the month, every month, all over the United States with different law firms. And I love doing it, but I just got tired of being in the airports and hotels and being away from my family. So.
Well, and that's the thing. You need to build a business that serves you, that gives you the lifestyle you want. And lifestyle is not just about money. Lifestyle is about travel. It's about the hours you work. It's about where you work. And I think that, you said something really interesting. You sold your law firm.
Right, twice.
Twice, not just once, but twice. Most people can't sell their law firms because they have a law practice. They don't have a law business. So I am so excited to talk to you today because I think part of what you're going to talk about is how to get 5 to 8 hours back in your week every week. And I think you're going to tell us how to use those hours. Is that right?
Yes. To grow your law firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you get 5 to 8 hours back? Like, you've got a system for this, right?
Oh yeah. And it's not one thing, it's a bunch of little things. Because if you think about it, we all have the same amount of hours in every day. We got the same amount of days in every week, the same amount of days in every month, and there's 52 weeks a year. So I got to look at this maybe 15, 20 years ago. I said, why are just people in general, business people, get so much more done than others? And so I really started studying and reading books and interviewing really successful people, and then tried a lot of it myself. Some of the stuff worked, some of it didn't. So I kind of took what I found worked, and I came up with like 5 strategies that I use, and then there's some subsets to each one. That because I always tell people when they join my organization, I said, here's the deal, and it's everybody, but lawyers seem like every time they say, I just don't have time to work on my business. And so they're so busy working in their business that they can't work on their business to grow it. And so really all they got is a job that they get paid last. you know. I mean, really, and
That
that's,
really is true. I mean,
you know, we take all the risk and get paid. We're the last ones to get paid, which is another whole theory of, you know, pay yourself first. And we're not going to talk about that today because I could talk about that for an hour. But you know,
I believe in that too.
yeah, I mean,
I
you got to. I mean, why are you doing this? So the first thing, there's 5 of them, and I'll name them, and then I'll go through them. So it's delegate more, apply the 80-20 rule, and this is like, I think, even though it's number 3, I think it's like the most important. Kill the time vampires, especially with lawyers. It seems more than any other people I see.
okay.
And you got to be organize your time, and then quit multitasking, which is that's a myth, and we're going to talk about that. So part of what I like to do is you got to delegate, and some lawyers and people in general have a big problem with that because they like to micromanage everything. And here's the other deal: you can't be great at everything. And so I used to think when I was growing up in high school, college, and even law school, and even after I got out, you know, that if I wasn't good at something, darn it, I'd go get good at it. I work, I do whatever it takes. And then I had one of my mentors. He said, "You're crazy." He said, "Listen, leverage your strengths." He said, "You'll have more fun. You'll be more productive." And he said, "And go hire people." And he told me the story. I think, who was the guy? It was the Henry Ford. That one of the newspaper guys said, "You know, they say you're the smartest man in the world. I'm asking you this question." He said, "Well, let me get on the phone." He said, "Well, no, you're supposed to be the smartest." He said, "Listen, I am the smartest man in the world." He said, "But I got a phone here. Why do I don't need to know everything. I hire people that are smarter than I am, so I am smart." And he said, "I can get on the phone. Anything you ask me, I can find out the answer. Or anything you want me to do, I can delegate it to get somebody to do." So the deal is, I think the reason, and I got a process you go through in my coaching group where you figure out what it is your strengths are. And really, there's a process, but really comes down to something you got a passion for and you really love doing it. Mm-hmm. Like with me, I was not the best trial lawyer in the world, believe it or not. I mean, I tried a lot of cases.
Not according to your awards, Ken.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know, but I didn't. I hired lawyers that were better than I was at trying cases. I was a really good negotiator, and I was a really good leader, but I hated management. I know how to do it, and I can teach it all day, but I really hate managing lawyers and staff. And so I hired really strong managers and somebody that would not be a yes person to me, that would hold me accountable too. I had to hire people with strong character and strong-willed people, and I like that. I mean, I want somebody to hold me accountable, because you can never grow personally or professionally if everybody around you is yes people. You've got to be questioned sometimes, because believe it or not, we don't know everything. I tell people I know a lot about a lot, but I still learn stuff every day. Every day I learn a new thing.
Well, and Ken, I had that experience this week. So actually, I guess it was last week. I think you probably know the PPP loan forgiveness application came out.
Oh, yes, yes.
So I start going through that. It's 11 pages long. It's right here. Mine's starting to look a little dog-eared because I've been working with it for 10 days. And so I started reading it the morning after it came out. They like to release things late on Friday afternoon. So they released it late on Friday. By Saturday morning, I'm going through it. And by Sunday, I started building a model. And I have one of those team members that you're talking about that is strong, that's not a yes person. And so I'm on the phone with her at 9 o'clock Monday morning. I'm like, okay, so I think we need to build this. And I started doing this. And she really challenged me and said, "Are you the right person to be doing this?"
Yeah.
And it was well, I think I have more free time. She's like, "No, we have people that have excess capacity that can do this." And so I handed it over.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can I tell you, Valerie built something that is so much better than I could have ever imagined.
Right.
It is amazing. And so you're right, it's finding those people who are smarter than you are and hiring people who aren't yes people, who are going to hold you accountable.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, the deal is you delegate and you explain it, but you entrust it with them. And you just have, my deal is trust and verify.
Okay, that's a great point, because I know so many attorneys that we say you need to delegate that, and they don't delegate it. It's some combination of dumping it and abdicating it.
Yeah.
And so you're right, it's trust but verify. I mean, you still have to manage that person. You still have to manage what's happening.
Right. Yeah. And and I think the one thing is sometimes lawyers say, well, I can do this better than they can. And maybe you can. But the deal is good is good enough. And if you've got somebody that's in your firm that you don't trust enough to empower it, then you got the wrong person there. Which is,
right. And they're never going to improve if you don't tell them what they're doing wrong and teach and coach them.
Right, right.
Yeah,
and that's
you
really
may be able to do it better than them today.
Yeah, and that's the new thing now. We don't, the new thought process is that there are no more managers, there's coaches. You should be coaching all your people and trying to make them better, instead of managing them. That's the new deal now. I guess political correctness,
I think it's the same thing, right?
Yeah, but it is. But that's what you're supposed to say there. So delegate more and leverage your strengths and delegate your weaknesses, because that's going to make, number one, you're going to be a lot happier, and number two, you're going to be a lot more productive, because when you enjoy something, you're just going to do a better job at it, and it's not going to seem like work.
So
I told all my children, because they're all my lawyers, and people say, aren't you upset? I said, no, because I told all my children, find something you got a passion for, and I'll show you how to make money at it. But if you're not got a passion and love it, no matter how much money you make, you're not going to be happy, because you were talking about success. My definition of success is doing what I want to do, when I want to do it, with whom I want to do it with. If I can do those three things, money. When I first started, that was the measuring stick, But then I think as I matured, I saw that money is important in that it gives you freedom to be able to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, with whom I want to do it. But money itself does not make you happy. Don't get me wrong, I like money.
Right.
But money for the sake of making money is, using it as a measuring stick, I think is going the wrong way. It's the wrong mindset.
Making money and being miserable is not.
And I know a lot of miserable rich people, by the way. I do. And I don't make the money I made when I was practicing law, because I had a very, very lucrative law. But I'm happier now. I mean, I'm doing it. So I get up in the morning. I love what I do. I love helping lawyers. I mean, I get. It brings me purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes me feel good about myself.
All right. Well, we need to keep going, or we're not going to get through all.
Okay, I know. I'm a talker. So,
all right, tell me about 80-20.
80-20. Everybody knows that is you make 80% of your money off of 20% of your cases. So keep you a list of your top 20% of your cases in your law firm, and if you're not working on them, make sure somebody is, to keep pushing them along. That's simple. Well, let's go on to the next one. Because this is the most important one. Kill the time vampires. So have you ever gone down the hallway and somebody said, you got a minute, got a minute, got a minute, got a minute? I call it, that's a time vampire, because you get that done 20 times a day, and usually when you're a firm owner, you're the one that gets it. And what I found was 80% of the time they just wanted affirmation. So what I did was this is something I came up with myself. I got a clipboard, and I made an hour each day, and it depended on my schedule, and I put it up on outside my office, and they got 10 minutes. And when somebody, and they could fill it in, their name and what the issue was, and like 11 to 11:10, and I called it got a minute. I said, no, but I'll give you 10 minutes at 11 o'clock. Go sign up. And what I found was 80% of them would never come to because they figured it out themselves, or they just wanted affirmation to start with. So you figure, 10 minutes a day, it's going to kill about an hour, hour and a half, really, at least an hour.
So there's we talk to our clients about doing that. And I think it's brilliant. And we learned something. There's a book called The Coaching Habit. And it is a fabulous book if you haven't read it.
I have not read it.
You've read it?
I have not.
Oh, you have not? Well,
no,
you really need to read it. It's fabulous. Yeah. And one of the things it says is when people come to you with a problem, they need to also come to you with 3 things that they've tried, right? Or potential solutions. And that's in our core values. One of our core values is be, a problem solver open to change, be an innovative problem solver open to change. And, if you need to be part of the solution.
Yeah. I forgot about that. I just said always bring me, if you got a problem, bring me 2 solutions, not just a problem, and then we can talk it out. So, yeah. Second thing, we all do this, email vampires. I turn my computer off so it doesn't ding all the time. And I usually try to check my emails twice a day. And believe it or not, it's not when I first go in. It's around 11 a.m. and then it's around 4 p.m. before I quit for the day. And what I found was starting and stopping, even though you might take you 1 minute to look at email, by the time you hit your concentration and come back, it takes 7, 8 minutes. So if you do that 8 or 10 times a day, there's another hour or 2, Another thing is unexpected calls. And I'm real big on client service. We were really big on that. I had like a client bill of rights, and I had a client advocate hotline. But the deal was, I would block out, and we're going to talk about that later, a couple hours in the morning. I just didn't take any calls because you got to get work done, and I wanted to be focused. And the deal is, when people call, you can tell them, to call you back. But what we did was, he'll call you back between 3 and 4. Sort of like, I got the idea from the cable company, we'll be there between 2 and 4. And so, because what I found was, if you didn't do that, they'll call back. If you wait till the afternoon to call, they're going to call the office 10 more times.
Yeah.
But if you make sure it's, I'm going to call you between 3 and 4 o'clock, and you do it, then they'll know that.
Right. And you can have your receptionist do that.
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be the attorney. It doesn't even have to be the paralegal. Yeah. And a lot of times, one of the things that we've talked to our clients about is getting the question in advance. Yeah. And generally, if you have an in-house receptionist, that receptionist is smart enough to say, oh, you need to know when your court date is? Actually, let me have the paralegal call you back because she manages the schedule.
Yeah, that's smart. But there's so many of those little things, see, that just ping at you all day long. When you call people back, this is the thing I always use, is I always tell people, because you got some people that are long-winded, they just like to talk, like me, when I call. But no, really, when you start your conversation, you always tell, I don't care who it is, lawyers, who it is, if I'm on a tight schedule, I say, I got 10 minutes, so, you're mine for 10 minutes, I'm all yours for 10 minutes. And then there's not a lot of BS. We get right to the point, because they know that I said that, I got 10 minutes, which really means I got 15 minutes. But
there's a little padding in there.
A little padding in there, but that way, I'm not something that they'll talk about for 30 minutes could really probably be handled in 5 or 10 minutes. But they just won't, they're sitting at home and got nothing to do. They want to talk to somebody. And I want to be nice, but I've got work to do, and I got to work on my business.
Well, and you were also in, you had contingency practices.
Yes.
So they weren't paying by the hour.
No. So
and it's just, they'll talk all day. They're stuck at home on, trying to get their disability. They don't have anything else to do. They're happy to talk to you all day.
Yeah. So that was crazy. Yeah. So we had to do that, and I really preached that. So that helped a lot. Those two things.
Ken, I think the same can be said for your paralegals too, depending upon how big your firm is.
Yeah.
And how much support staff you have. If your paralegals are mostly billable, then protect their time too. Protect their billable time. Give them time when they can work in a block, because you're right, every time you change a task, it takes 7 or 8 minutes to get back. They're not getting anything done. Their phone's ringing all day. I mean, you're still going to be asking them for stuff, but let you be the only interruption and not the entire world.
Yeah. And so another thing I did, I call it my 3Ds. When I get mail, they'd open it up, put it in an envelope, a folder, and I'd have my mail. I only wanted to touch it one time.
Yep.
So what I had different boxes on my desk, or like little trays. And inbox for people, so putting stuff in there for me to review, or my mail or whatever. And then I had outboxes for my administrator, another outbox for my secretary or my paralegal or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have to sit there. I just write I had actually made some little things that like a sticky note that I could stick on them and say, just write a little note.
Yep.
And which, one thing that kind of killed me on time management, I never learned how to type. So I'm kind of disadvantaged, and I'm so old and crotchety that I refuse to learn how. So I still do like this, 2 fingers. So so that leads up to my next thing. I always like to organize. So anyway, I had the 3Ds. I either did something with it right then, put it in the outbox, or I dump it, throw it in the trash can, or I delegate it. And then if it was magazines, I had a holding box. Like if it was a magazine, I didn't have time, but I wanted to take it home and read it.
Did you actually get those magazines read?
Like the ones I want to
stack up.
The ones that I want to, and then the other ones kind of just end up in the bathroom somewhere laying around, But yeah, some of them I did. The ones I didn't, probably got dumped really, because I used to get a lot of different magazines, and so the next thing is create a to-do list. I know that seems very simple, but I had a system, and you could do it digitally now, but I've always done it the old way, and I still do it here at my home office. My office is out of my house now. I call it my do list, but I had a list where, as the day was going on, I had one what I was doing today, but I had another one sitting over to the right, and as things came up, I had to do it, so I just wrote it down. I need to do this or I need to do that. Maybe when I'm going through the mail, phone calls, emails. And then at the end of the day, I'd look, and then as I was doing them, checking off my checklist, then I would move stuff over to it. And then I prioritize them. So if it's something that absolutely, positively, I call it the FedEx moment, got to be done the next day, it gets a double A. Everything that I really need to get done the next day is A. If it needs to be done, but it could wait, is a B, and then can wait, not that a high priority, is a C.
All right, now Ken, we're talking now about organizing your time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we've moved on to number 4.
Yeah, this is number 4, organizing your time. So yeah, so I do that. I call it today's checklist. I mean, it's very simple. I had a girl type it up for me. I've been using it for 15, 20 years. And I guess, I think you can do it digitally or on your phone. And there's probably an app that can do that now for you. But the process is prioritizing. I think the key to the takeaway is you want to prioritize so that you know that you can't do it as you go. You get wait till the end of the day and then see how it all stacks up, and then you sit there and say, okay. And some people have a lot of problem with that. They really do.
You've said something that's so interesting. You said a few minutes ago that you don't check email until 11. And there are a bunch of books out and a bunch of people talking about prioritizing. And, there's a book called The One Thing that says, come into the office and do the one thing that's going to move your business forward the most. First thing, don't check email, don't check mail, don't do anything. Yeah. Mel Robbins says, what are the 3 things you need to do to move your business forward, and make sure those get done first thing.
Yeah.
Because I think you're right. You say you don't check email until 11. Well, if you check email first thing, it will totally rearrange your whole day, and you'll end up traveling off down some, rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And you don't get as much accomplished.
Right.
So I think it's really interesting. Like, come in, plan your day, get the most important things, get those A things done before you add anything else.
Yeah, and always what I did was, and I always took the thing that my biggest project or the thing I hated to do most, and I always did it first thing in the morning. And if I could, I had different times in my life where I just didn't go into the office at 10 o'clock because I knew, and then I figured, so I would do that, and I'd work in quietness for like 2 hours. I always like to block my time in 2-hour blocks to get, I call it D&D time. And I allowed my lawyers to do that, but they had to put it in because they put it on their calendars, and then the receptionist knew,
Right.
things. And I would always, what is that book, Eat the Frog or whatever?
I was going to say, when you were talking about do the first thing in the morning, I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
You're eating the frog.
Yeah, I'm eating it, and I deal with it. And then because the big deal, it's like dreading it was the biggest problem, not doing it. Once I got into it, it was okay. It's like me working out. I work out 3 nights, even though you probably can't tell it, but I do work out 3 mornings a week. Even now, I do Facebook Live with them, and or no, FaceTime on my iPhone. And I ordered some equipment and had it brought to my garage. And I told him, I said, I'm never going back to the gym. I said, you're going to have to do this the rest of your life. I said, because I like this. I can get up and walk downstairs and go to my basement and knock this out. I don't have to get in a car and go anywhere. I said, it saves me 40 minutes. I said, we're not going back to this.
Yeah.
Now that I know you'll do it, I just saved 40. I just saved 3 hours, hour was what, 40, 120
minutes,
I
2 hours.
Let's say 2 hours a week, right? So there's another tip. If you're working out, make your trainer do it through FaceTime. I didn't even put that one in there. But yeah, and I like to block up time, but I think, doing that and knocking off your checklist, what you'll find is you'll be a lot more productive. And then, of course, the last thing, I can get into more of this, but the last thing is quit multitasking. Everybody thinks that's the great way to do it, but it's not. There've been studies done. And when you have to stop doing one thing, it takes you, it wastes 3 to 5 minutes to get back organized. That's why I don't like the interruptions. Another thing I did at my law office, I had a thing made like a nameplate, but it slid. It says in and out.
Yeah.
But mine was available, not available. And the deal when I put in not available, unless the building was on fire, nobody screwed with me. Because that was they just knew that I would blow a gasket because that was when I really wanted to do I was focusing in on everything in that. You can churn out so much work when you're not distracted.
Yeah.
Distracted.
That sounds so much better. My father has an attorney that works for him. He's a great guy. He's a retired appellate judge. And when he needs to concentrate, he needs to work, he would put signs on his door. And he would pick these up, and he really liked the door hanger ones. And he had a door hanger that said, do not enter, filming porn in progress. So I think your not available is probably a little more politically correct.
Yeah.
It did make us giggle every time we saw it.
Yeah, I had a lawyer when I first got out of law school, and what he did, he hung one of these little flags, yellow flags that had the snake on it that don't tread on me.
Oh.
He stick that on his door when he didn't want to be disturbed, like he would kill you, bite you like a snake. Yeah. So maybe I learned that to start with.
Whatever works, whatever gets you that protection. And I'll do it with my team. I usually do it because we're a virtual company. I'll send out an email saying, unless the world is imploding, this is the project I'm working on and I need this much time.
Yeah.
And I turn off the email and I put my phone on do not disturb, and they know that if they have to get me, they can text me.
Yeah.
And you get so much more done.
Yeah. And if you do these things, I promise you're going to open up 5 to 8 hours a week. I promise you. Now, here's the problem. And we talked about this before we started today. 90% of the people will not follow through on what I just told them. And what it is, it's all about habits. And you know, you heard the old rule, 21 days to change a habit. Well, really, it's more like 63, 68 days. They've proven
I was
that.
gonna say, isn't it like 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's been proven it's more than that. But you always used to hear 21 days. But the deal is, you can't let people, you know, distract you and put you off your rhythm, because once you know, habits are very important, and it's routines are very important. If you can get routines and habits doing these things, and don't let and be focused, and don't let people take you out of it, and you know, that's when you want to create that 5 to 8 hours, and then take that 5 and 8 hours and think, you know, and sit there and think about, you know, what can we do? Look at my KPIs. Let's look at this. How can we make this better?
Well, I was gonna say,
You know, this is when you can really, and you don't even have to do it at your office. You know what I like to do? I like to go down to the beaches when I do my best planning, and all I take is a little book like this. You know, oh, you can't see it, can you? Yeah, because of my deal, because of my green screen. Anyway, a little journal or whatever, and that's when I do my thinking out there, because that's where nobody's at. I take my chair. I live in a place where this beach, there's just nobody on it, believe it or not.
well, and Ken, I think that's so important. Saving 5 to 8 hours a week isn't really about saving the 5 to 8 hours a week. It's about taking those 5 to 8 hours and working on your business instead of in your business. What are those things that will move you forward? What are those things you need to do? What, you know, you were talking about going to the beach, kind of that blue sky time.
Right.
You can just let ideas percolate.
Right.
Or, for instance, one of the things that we're working on, a member of my team and I meet at 4 o'clock every single day, and we work on what we're calling the client journey. And it's the same project, and it is absolutely how we're going to move our company forward. And we work on it every day at 4 o'clock. So whatever it is, it's finding that thing that's going to move you forward. You mentioned KPIs. It's looking at your conversion rates all the way along the conversion cycle, because I know you're big on this. Conversion rate in what happens in the sales call. It starts way before that. You know, where is there a problem in your conversion rate cycle that you could fix, and fixing that? It's taking those 5 to 8 hours and spending them in a way that really builds your business.
Yeah, and it's you know, and everybody out there, I can tell you right now, and I get arguments with lawyers every day. You can always improve your intake, or your whatever you want to call it, your appointment setting, because every lawyer says I sign up every case I want. And I said, you do. I said, but do you handle every new caller? Well, no, I don't. And so then I used to, when I did my consulting work, you know, I used to go, I hired this company to do like 5 ghost calls and record them. And 2 out of 5 of them every time would be terrible. I mean, somebody would drop the ball. I mean, I've been to big firms and little firms. It didn't matter. I went to a firm in Virginia, and they were spending over $2 million a year on TV. And they called me up and they said, our case, we're dropping and we can't figure it out. They didn't want their ads, they want that. It was their intake. And they were, and
really?
the guy sitting there, the partner, he said, well, we don't have any problem. And I played my tape. He turned white and he said, I got it. He said, I'm going to the bathroom, I'll throw up. Because he knew what that meant. It was millions of dollars he was losing. He knew what it meant. And so they got better at it, but you can always get better. And I don't care how good you train or whatever, you got to hold people accountable, and you got to stay on top of it.
Well, and you can't hold them accountable until you start tracking it.
Yep, that's right.
And there are industry standards, and you know, you probably know better than I do. We have some suggested conversion rates at every way along that cycle. But, you know, look at yourself. What percentage of the people that call are qualified? You know, if you're a personal injury firm and you keep getting a lot of divorce cases calling you know, there's a problem in your marketing somewhere.
Yeah. And I like to keep 2 stats. I like to keep a stat on just general conversion, but then I like, what's more important to me is the conversion on the cases I really wanted.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
that I want to be 95% or better. I mean, I want it to be 100%, right? But I really, my goal is 95, because you're never going to get everything you want, right? But what I found is, I'm in my group of lawyers. I run 5 masterminds, by the way, too, and that's one of the things that's what I got them really looking at. And most of them are really trying, but they're around 85 to 90. And before we even looked at it, they were around 70, 75. Mm-hmm. They thought that when they talked to them, they said, "Oh no, that's 100%. It's 100%."
Oh yeah, I have every case I want, and I convert 90. I have a 90% conversion rate.
Yeah, but you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
You know, and that's and listen, both of my old firm. Listen, my firm won't perfect. I mean, we worked on it. I got a report at the end of every day. I looked at how many intakes, how many were converted, how many were rejected, and how many were pending. And I was real upset about the pending. Okay. And I also wanted to look at what was the source. And if they said unknown, I would march back there, or either get my person march back there and say, call them back and ask them. And after you make them do that a couple of times,
they start asking.
Yeah. And I had 2 questions. How'd you hear about us? And if it's online, you're going to know because your analytics. But if they call on the phone, I had this second. This is a good tip, and then I'll shut up. What were you looking at when you dialed a number?
Really? What are you looking for there?
I'm looking to see what was it that got them to pull the trigger to pick up the phone and call, because they might have heard about me on TV, but then they might have been looking at my website. And it's not going to tell you everything, but it's going to tell me what it was that made them pull the trigger.
Yeah, what kind of tipped them over the edge?
Because it depends on what kind of marketing you do. Because I mean, when I had my big law firm, and when I sold in 2010, we had like 47 staff and 13 lawyers. We had 32 different things we were doing to market the practice. So it's impossible almost, because we were everywhere. We were on billboards, TV, radio, internet, pay-per-click. We were doing festivals, we were doing community things. I had books out in doctors' offices. I mean,
they were being inundated.
Yeah, we were everywhere. I had calendar magnets everywhere. You'd go to the courthouse and they were all over the clerk's office. We were in phone books. We were back when we had phone books. Yeah, I mean, you know, I was the first. This is actually more famous for this than anything. I was the first person to come up with the idea of putting magnets on the front of phone books. Before, they were just pieces of paper. And the guy came to me, I said, why would I want to do that? It's got no shelf life. I said, why would I want a piece of paper somebody's going to tear off and throw in the trash can? I said, if you can get me a magnet. He said, well, they have to be real thin. I said, I don't care. So I was spending, I had they put out like, I don't know, 400,000 books that year in Raleigh. And so we were on the front of a calendar magnet. And so they were everywhere. And we did that for about 4 years. And so we were just inundated everywhere. But I had tracking numbers on that calendar magnet.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Ken, you're talking about stuff that is for huge firms. Like once you get that big,
yeah,
you start having different phone numbers. You start having different contact numbers so that you can trace where those people are coming from.
But I started out, believe it or not, solo with $2,500. I did. I mean, I did. I couldn't even afford a full-time person. I had a part-time person come in like 4 hours a day.
And that's the thing about being an attorney. The investment is in the degree. The investment isn't in the startup costs of the actual business.
No.
You know, I know people that have started law firms with folding tables in an office and literally a portable phone that got run around to the different offices because they didn't have a phone system.
Right. So
it was the portable phone that the secretary would answer and would run down the hall. Yes, just a moment.
I'm so old, I'm telling my age, but when we had there was no computers, there was no word processors, we had IBM selectors, and you made copies. There was no copiers. You used carbon paper.
Yep.
You know, I started in '82. in a small town with like 10,000 people. So we come a long ways.
So, all right. So we've talked about, you know, delegating can get you what, an hour back a week?
Probably anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, really.
All right. The 80-20 is going to get you an hour. The time vampires is 2 to 3 hours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Organizing your time's probably an hour. Quit multitasking is probably an hour. But I have to tell you, that's a really hard one.
It is hard.
Because you get addicted to that stimulation and that change.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's, you know, easily 8 hours a week.
Yeah.
So if you have 8 hours a week, if you were telling one of your coaching clients, Mr. Millionaire Maker, that I'm going to give you 8 hours a week, what are the top 3 things they should be doing with those 8 hours?
Okay, so first thing, you got to figure out what is going to be your message. Well, we go in. I'm just going to talk about from the marketing, how to grow your firm. There's a lot, you got to build your infrastructure with processes and procedures. I'm just going to set that aside.
And you got to know your numbers, right, Ken?
Yeah. But I'll just talk about far as, well, here's where I see lawyers. They all look the same. So you got to differentiate yourself with a message or with something, and because you got to answer these 2 questions. I actually do a course on this. You got to answer the question: do I need a lawyer? And if I do need a lawyer, why the heck should I choose you over all these other people that's all over TV, all over the internet? And if you can't answer that question, you got a problem. And that's hard. That's hard. I'm working with a couple of lawyers. It's hard. It's harder for some than others. But like, sometimes it can just be a book. Say, I wrote the book on this. With my firm, I did something that was crazy. What we did was 100% client service satisfaction guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, we treat you, in your case, the first 30 days, come get your file, no fees, no cost. Because we're on contingency base, right?
Right.
So, but the deal was they could do it anyway. Because, you know, a retainer agreement for contingency law is the only contract. It's not a contract. Because you just get quantum merit and you're not going to do that much work the first 30 days. So when I did that one thing, and changed my message to that, my leads went up 23% without spending another dollar. Just that.
That's amazing.
You know, so but it could be anything. It could be, I've seen we only represent men, or this is what we do and this is all we do, or you can do 100 of them, but there's a process we'll do it. So get the differentiator, the message, and then figure out who your target, your ideal client is. Mm-hmm. Think about that a lot. Go back and look and say, okay, or think about the type of cases. Go back and look at the top 20 fees that you took in the last 12 months, and what kind of cases were they, and how did I get those cases? And start thinking, how can I get more of those cases? Because they're more lucrative, right?
Yeah. Well, so, and we've been working on that a lot. And something that someone told us to do was write down everything about that person, right? You hear that all the time. Yeah. That's your avatar, write it down. And, but someone recently went a step further and said, you need to name that person.
Yeah, you can.
So our avatar has a name.
Really?
And,
pretty good.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to tell you because it is some of our clients' actual names. It's like we kind of pulled it mashed together. But it's the next thing they told us to do, which I thought was so interesting, was anytime you do any kind of marketing, anything, read, our avatar happens to be a guy, read his description, and it goes down as far as to say that his wife drives a Mercedes SUV and he drives a Tahoe, and how old their children are and where they're in school. Like, we really got down. And read about him and then write, so that you're really writing to your ideal client. Yeah.
And then I think I could go on for this forever, so tell me when to shut up, but you've got, and here's another big mistake. I see people all the time, if you're saying the same thing, or they put on big name of the law firm around their website, and then we care, or we're tough, or aggressive, free consultation, everybody does that. And people really don't care about you. They want to know what you can do for them, what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And so you've got to have a great headline to engage them. And don't use the words we, us, I on a lot of your copy, because that's about you and they don't care about you. You know, I don't care if you were summa cum laude at Harvard, but that ain't the question. The question is, can you help me?
Yeah. Can you fix my problem?
Can you fix my problem? That's what they want to know. You know, so that's the big deal. I mean, you know, and I had a mentor, and I think this is so important. You got to enter the conversation that's on their mind. And what I mean by that is, what is it that's keeping them awake at night? What is it that's bothering them? What made them pick up the phone? What made them fill out the form? If you can figure that out and then create copy that addresses that, and then even maybe stir it up a little bit harder to make it step away, that they didn't even think about this part. And then that you've got the solution, and then what I call social proof, which is testimonials, or some case studies. That I'll be working on that, you know. And then there's other little things like get you good reviews, you know, because everybody's looking at reviews. 87% of people look at reviews, and they're looking at it, and make sure your website's on, you know, app ready and all that stuff. Because, you know, people are using their phones. But I mean, really, those 3 or 4 things right there, that's very important. And most lawyers don't even think about it. What they do is somebody comes and tries to sell them something, and it's the next shiny object. And it don't matter what you're doing. If you ain't got the right message, you're not marketing to the right market, the target market. It don't matter, does it?
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're on billboards. It doesn't matter if you're on TV.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you have the best pay-per-click ever. Yeah. If your message is off and your message is not reaching your ideal client, it is a big stinking waste of money, and your CFO is going to shut it down.
See, when I had my personal injury firm, I never said I could get you the most money. I just said that you would have one hell of an experience, and we're going to treat you like you were family. And you know, you always, in fact, our tagline, putting you first, always putting you first. And we did that through doing surveying like 150 of our past clients. We went through, I got a process you go through and ask them, and we kind of worked out and brainstormed, and we came up with our tagline. I mean, we didn't just pull out there, we did a lot of research. And then, it took time, but it was worth it, I think, you know.
Yeah. All right. So we've got a few minutes left, and I want to kind of talk about events and some things that are happening. I've got one for you and one for me. You may want to add a different one for you. But it is the end of May. And in June of this year, I was supposed to be joining you in New Orleans for your big, huge conference.
Right.
And it got moved to September, right?
October.
All right. So you want to tell us a little bit about that? Because you always have the most incredible headline speakers.
Yeah, we, you know, this COVID has changed everything. So we moved, it was supposed to be at the Ritz-Carlton. It still is in the last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in October. And if we don't do it, we're actually my people are online right now taking a course on how to put on virtual events that are really cool, interactive and everything. So we're going to have it one way or the other. But yeah, we usually line up. We usually have between 25 to 40 speakers on different topics, and we usually I even speak a little bit. Hard to believe I like to speak, right? But yeah, we try to get a lot of lawyers. I've been very successful in getting a lot of our members that really what I found is in the masterminds, there's some lawyers that are really good on tech and really good on internet, and some of them are really good at grassroots. Some of them are really good on processes and procedures, but I mean, they're doing good, but there's some things that they got a passion for, and they've been very successful. So I try to get them to share what's really working. And most of them are willing to do that. And then I try to bring in the leading edge people. And I always bring in somebody, celebrity, some mindset, you know, to keep everybody jacked up. And we got Rudy Rutniger, who was the guy that they wrote. Most of you young won't know this movie. It's what was the name of the movie? It's Rudy, about the guy that played with Notre Dame, and he was like nobody had him. You know, he just pure will and determination. He willed his way up to it when nobody said he could do it. And we were supposed to have Vern Harnish, who is wrote The Rockefeller Habits.
I know Vern Harnish. Vern wrote one of the quotes for my new book that's coming out.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got him to come and speak to one of our masterminds in January before all this happened. But I got 5 different groups. One is called the 8-Figure Group. Then I've got another group just solos. I mean, so it's all different, you know, statuses. He was going to talk about scaling up, and they really loved him. They really loved him. I mean, he asked some very good questions. He gives some very good information, and we have us been like, so we have different speakers going, and then we have one day we divided up into 3 sections, and I'll have a personal injury section, a domestic section, and a criminal section. And then the other 2.5 days, it's just everybody together. And then we have breakout sessions for marketing assistants and for office managers. And, you know, yeah, it's good. We have 300 or 400 lawyers and people show up. We have about 50 vendors show up. It's funny because the first time I did it, I might have had 35 people show up. You know, that was about 10 years ago. It's kind of grown. And we were on our way to have our biggest one. When we had to stop, we were projecting, it was looking like 500.
That's amazing.
You know, so, but yeah, but we had Gloria Allred last year speak, you know, and take pictures and everything. And we have a big party and at night, big reception. And you're down in New Orleans, the hotel's about 2 blocks from Bourbon Street. So plenty to do, a lot of sights to see. So yeah, I'm hopefully we'll have. I mean, we're going to have it. Hopefully, we can have it at the Ritz-Carlton, great hotel.
I love that hotel. I've stayed at that hotel a lot.
Yeah, I love it. It's classic.
So, all right. So that is awesome. It's always a great event. So I just wanted to let people know about that.
Thank you.
We are doing next Friday.
Okay.
In a similar time slot to this, 4 Eastern, 3 Central, 2 Mountain, 1 Pacific. We're doing a webinar on how to fill out your PPP loan forgiveness application. So if anybody wants to register, you're going to start seeing that on all of our social media in the coming week. We will send out an email with a link to register. And Ken, if you want to send out a link to your people, I'm happy to give you.
Sure. Yeah, please let me.
Yeah, because it's a bear. Like if you thought taxes were bad, filling out your taxes is a walk in the park compared to this thing. So I wanted to do that. And then I guess that was about it. Is there anything else that you want to add, Ken?
No, I think I've talked enough.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.